All right, so this is the first question for Learning Module 5 activity, the Spotlight Strategy debate. So the questions for this time are, what are your thoughts regarding implementation of a stoplight or other color code system as class approach to behavior management? I feel like that is a sort of old way of using a old strategy to use for behavior management. I think it's kind of played out and old, and the kids aren't really engaged in it, don't pay attention, they really don't care about it. We really need to come up with things that catch their attention, something that they care about, the consequences and the positive outcomes of it. I don't think that switching a color on a color coded system or a stoplight really does that for the class as a whole or the student individually. It's kind of an old strategy. I don't really like it. It was used when I was in school, so I guess that's how old it is. Not one of my favorites. Do you believe a stoplight or color code system helps or hurts? I think that it hurts a little bit because if it's individualized by the student, it kind of shows the entire class what kind of behavior that they're showing or what kind of behavior they have, when really that needs to be a one-on-one thing with the student. If their behavior is, I guess, say yellow or in the red, I feel like that's a personal thing. Like, the teacher needs to have an individual discussion with that student instead of it being a class discussion, or basically being out there for the class to know that that child is not behaving. So I think it kind of hurts, just because it exposes the behavior to the children and the outcome of the behavior. So it allows them to see that this is the only consequence I get if I misbehave, is to change my color, or to end up not on a green light and you're on a red or a yellow light. I think it can help some students if some students they flow that way, or if they need constant reminders all day. Then that may help them. Having that stoplight sequence might help. You're at a green right now, that means you're doing good, keep it up. You're at a yellow, you need to tone it down, you need to try to focus and do some work. If you're at a red, you're not doing any work at all, you're not listening to directions, you're not paying attention, you're not following rules, you're not being safe. They may need those reminders during the day. You learn about many alternative approaches to classroom behavior in this module. What will the classroom behavior manager look like in your future classroom? Will it include one or more of the strategies you learned about in this learning module? Something else, provide an overview of the classroom behavior management system or systems you like to implement. Remember, a class-wide approach is the tier 1 approach, system you'll have to have in place for the whole class. We'll talk in a later module about more individual approaches. So for a whole class approach, I would use the Class Dojo system. That's the system that is being used now in probably, I would say, 85% of the classrooms that I'm in, no matter what grade. So in the 5th grade class that I'm in, the 2nd grade class that I'm in the 1st grade and kindergarten class that I'm in, they use the Class Dojo system. It has a system on there that can give those rewards out. And it also can give negative feedback as well. So if the child is doing good, then you hear a different sound for that. So there's a different sound for students doing well, and there's a different sound for students that are not doing well, and they know those two sounds. So when they hear either one of them, they respond. They get excited because they feel like, oh, the whole class is paying attention, so we got a dojo point. If they're not doing well, they know what that sound sounds like, and they kind of get upset, and they're like, oh, what's happening? We got to pay attention. They're trying to, tell their classmates to pay attention, follow directions, listen, all those types of things. So that is the system that I would use in my classroom. Any other system I think I would use, maybe a reward system within the classroom itself just for us. Maybe once a month prizes or anything like that. Disciplinary wise, I feel like it needs to be individualized by the student. I don't think there should be discipline that's heavy for the entire class. I feel like, yes, if the entire class is just out of control and not listening, not following directions, not being safe, then you handle that accordingly, and you do whatever you think is best for the class for discipline for that. So that could be walking laps at recess, taking some workout and doing it at recess, taking 5 minutes away from their recess, or let's see, taking away their favorite time of the day, or replacing their favorite time of the day with more work, or stuff like that, things like that. Or if they happen to be getting their reward for the month that day and they're not following directions, and they can't get their reward for the month. But I think individual discipline needs to happen as well. I know this says not to talk about individual approaches, but I feel like the whole class should not be punished for one child. I know the whole saying that, you know, we're a team and you're supposed to work as a team, and if somebody on the team's not doing what they're supposed to do, then the whole team, you know, gets in trouble. I live by that, but I don't live by that for everything. So if the thing that the child is doing is like a personal thing, you know, not affecting the classroom, then you handle that separately. If it is affecting the classroom, then you kind of just gotta play it by ear. So I think with all that being said, Class JoJo is like a middle ground for both. And then you handle individual circumstances and accommodations accordingly for those children that need it, and you go from there with that. So yeah, that is my take on all of these questions.